Welcome back to the podcast with your host, Samantha.
And I'm Alexa. We're here to light up your life.
Today, we're joined by Jenell Kelly. She's an international best-selling author, mindset and leadership expert, and CEO and co-founder of Let's Go 180. Jenell helps people get clear, confident, and result-driven in both life and business.
Welcome to the show, Jenell. We're so excited to have you.
Well, thank you, ladies. It's wonderful to be here with you. I'm excited to chat with you guys today.
Yeah, it's going to
me
be
too.
such a great conversation. So, jumping in, can you take us back to the beginning? What led you from nursing to becoming a mindset and leadership expert?
Complete exhaustion, right? Like hitting rock bottom on every level. I loved being a nurse. Don't get me wrong. I did it for over 3 decades. I was in charge of one of the busiest like trauma center ERs. I was well respected. People trusted me, looked at me as like the calm in the chaos. But the truth was inside, I was just exhausted, So you're running around helping other people. And I'm sure so many people can relate to this, what we're doing for others perhaps, and that yet for ourselves we're just kind of exhausted and put on the back burner, and that's how I found myself, and I wanted something different. And so I just took the leap and I ended up in network marketing, doing online sales, which I had zero inkling about. And I just really thought that even though I didn't know what I was doing and it was scary, that if I just did what the people told me to do and I followed the proven systems and did all the right things, that I would have the success that they were having. And honestly, it looked really good on the outside. I was doing the posts, having the parties, but the truth was, it was like a different career. And at the end of the day, I was still completely exhausted. I wasn't, having what I thought I would have. And so that really just led me to get curious. And when that curiosity just led me into different rooms and in different programs, and I fell into transformational training, and that became my passion. And I realized that that's what was needed outside of the outward systems and processes and KPIs. Like all those things are wonderful, but if the internal dialogue wasn't set to that 7-figure dial, I was never going to hit it. And then when I realized that, I found there were so many more people who were looking for that solution, and so then I became that solution.
I love your story. I resonated with it so much. And what do you think that pivotal moment in your life was that made you say, I need to do a 180?
Honestly, there was, along this path, I had, as you know, Samantha, there was a few physical challenges. So, I like to say that this calling and my why, that it all started, from changing from nursing to entrepreneurship, but that's not really true. It was more back in like 2011. I had a major traumatic injury. I was told I would never walk again. I was facing paralysis. I lost my job at the time. Eventually, I lost my income. I lost my home. I had to file bankruptcy, and it was a journey. But the thing I never lost was my vision. I continue to see myself walking despite every well meaning person, including family and friends, like looking at me like I was crazy, And I chose my own path. I am very grateful for the medical field. And sometimes I feel medications are necessary, but what they wanted to give me, I just looked at that as a band aid. And so I just held the vision and I held the belief. And back then, I didn't really have the level of awareness and consciousness that I have now to know exactly what I was doing. And then as I traveled into entrepreneurship and into the world of transformation, I started to realize that what I did back then was exactly how we create our lives. And I realized the amount of power that we have to do this for whatever reason, 10 years later, and I'm doing great, and I'm healed and life is like getting back together and things are wonderful. And it was actually, is today September 11th? Okay, so it was 4 years ago today, I was struck by a motor vehicle. Like, I was just sitting there and struck by a truck, and my spine took another hit, and this time it was different, though. I navigated that recovery much differently as far as the grace and the ease. The challenges were very similar to that of 2011, minus the paralysis, okay, but as far as losing the job, losing the income, having to think forward. But this time I really understood how we could, like, clean up aisle 5 while still focusing forward, and just keeping the vision of where I wanted my life to be and what I wanted my job to look like and how I wanted to feel. And like I say, if you leave the mop and the bucket back here and clean up aisle 5, right? And don't bring that mop and bucket right here to the present moment, you can actually still continue to create what you want while cleaning up whatever little chaos may have already happened. And it was going really well. And then I had surgery. I finally let them do surgery because I realized is elevated or whatever, aware as I am, I'm not Buddha. And so I have them do surgery and I think, okay, here we go. It's the last bit. Life is great. And for 2 weeks later, I ended up with a posterior stroke. Right. They dissected an artery. I survived one of the deadliest strokes that there is. And I was like, okay, here we go, you know? And it's crazy because the smile is real, you know, like the joy that I have now is real. And that was just like 2 years ago that that happened. And there was so many gifts in that healing because of the awareness and the tools up here that I had equipped myself with and the things I was teaching my students and clients. I really just took it to the next level and to a degree and a depth where like you can't convince me that life is any other way than the way that I know it and the abilities that we have with vision and emotion and belief. And that, you know, I always say if you can like master your mind, you like can you master your life, right? We live a life by design versus default. And I was really good at it. And then when I had the stroke, I became an expert at it, like a master at it. It's how I healed through the stroke. Right? It was all like being in the present moment. So that's really, there's been a few moments in my life. And yes, to have success in business is one of them. And I love working with entrepreneurs. But honestly, it's just about being able to design the life that we were brought here to have, you know? Like suffering is not really necessary. And I think once we realize we create our life, then the less chaos is necessary to show us that we create our life. Does that make sense? Like, I don't need to be paralyzed anymore. I don't need any more strokes. Like, I'm solid. Like, I'm sold. I get it now, you know? And I just think that's beautiful once we figure that out.
Wow, that's a powerful message, and I can't believe that you've went through all of that, Janelle, and still came out on the other side so positive and just so radiant. I'm really curious. What are some of the mindset shifts that you had to adjust to, to be able to share the story that you just shared with us in such a light, heartful way?
Yeah, it's a journey, right? Like this didn't happen overnight. This has been a 10-year journey of really understanding. There was a lot of undoing. And I believe that whatever age we're at, we have something inside of us to heal. Right. We were brought into this world, this beautiful blank canvas. And depending on the environment or who raised us and whatever beliefs they had and whatever they were working with at the time, that is what was instilled into us. Now, that doesn't make it real, you know? And I didn't understand that for so many years. I was like blaming my childhood and looking at my past and, you know, upset with my parents because, you know, it was their fault, right? That I wasn't where I wanted to be and all these things. So it's a lot of sweeping up and cleaning up the inner work and becoming what we call a self-cleaning oven to be able to be willing to go where in the depths of the darkness, we'll say, because it doesn't feel good to look at these things until you get on the other side of it. And then there's this beauty. So a lot of that work had been done by the time I faced that great big, like the second challenge, right? The stroke. And in addition to that, a lot of emotional intelligence work had been done. And I promise you that if you live here in the present moment, in the now, complete debacle can be going on around us. And like, you just ask yourself, am I safe? Like, am I here? Am I breathing? Like, you know, you just bring yourself back and we can really shift from that sympathetic to parasympathetic, right? The fight or flight. Like it takes 30 seconds, you know, and it sounds so simple. And yet it's one of the most challenging things that we're in like when we're in the middle of something happening to us, right? In the middle of the chaos or the challenge or whatever that is. It's literally 90 seconds for the chemicals of that fight or flight reaction to take place in your body and to leave the body. So imagine if something happened and we were anxious, right? Something like even with the stroke happening and stuff. And then if we can pause for 90 seconds in the present moment and allow all of those little things to happen in the body and then choose to respond from that place, that's when you actually start to design your life. Otherwise, you're in reaction mode. And if you can't wait the 90 seconds, if you don't catch yourself, you literally are reacting to a reaction. And that's where so many people have stress and anxiety, right? Like a lot of people with anxiety, sleepless nights, all this heaviness, all these things. And it's like, if you could just pause for 90 seconds and just be here in the present, everything's perfect. And then choose from there. And it, like I said, it took me 10 years, right? Almost to get there, right? So it's easier said than done, but there's a lot of tools and techniques that you just implement regularly that can be done, but you get to do the work, right? Nobody can do that for you. So,
That is really, really powerful. And there's so many things I want to say, but just hearing your story, it reminds me of this quote that says a lot of times people go through all these challenges and hardships because your calling is so much higher. And because you've experienced all of those obstacles, now you have the ability to help other people go from survival mode and the negative mindset and slitting their past to creating a life by design. And I know you touched upon that quite a bit. What does that truly mean to you? And then how can someone begin to create that for themselves? I know you gave one example, but if you can elaborate a little more.
yeah. So to me, creating a life by design is honestly, to me, it's that finding inner peace, right? Like finding that inner peace and then protecting that peace. Because, you might be like, oh, we're living this life by design, but there's all these demands around us, and I have to work and I have to pay bills. Well, first of all, you got to change your have tos to get tos because you don't have to. Like, you don't have to. There's a street right outside and you can choose to live on it, right? Some people do. Like everything is a choice. And that's not to sound rude or harsh in any way, but it is a choice. So when we can change into the gratitude is like the very first thing. And that was actually the transformational work that I went through, which was really deep, in depth work. It was called gratitude training, and people laughed at me. Nobody around me went with me, by the way. I couldn't enroll a soul like that. Anybody that I knew, like nobody wanted anything to do with it. And, but they're like, oh, you need to go to class to be grateful. And at the time, I was like, well, don't make fun of me. But then when I really thought about it later down the road, I was like, I did need to go to learn how to be truly grateful, right? Grateful for every moment, grateful for our breath, grateful for the roof over our head in order to feel abundant, even if the money wasn't in the bank account, even if your body was in pain, right? Even if the uncertainty of tomorrow, right? Even if. And so, how are we grateful in that moment? And that to me is the very first steps of learning how to design your life. Because in every moment, your reaction to everything, you're either empowering yourself or you're giving your power away. Right. So if something has you feel anxious or upset or sad or mad or frustrated or a victim, as if something's happened to you and not for you, what feels more powerful? And I know, God, hi, I know that can be a hard, depending on what we're going through. I felt like there was a lot of injustices done along the way, but I cleaned up that feeling of having it be unjust. Like if I met the guy tomorrow who ran me over with his truck because he was on his cell phone, right? I would say hello to him just like I would, and to be at that place is that inner peace. And to me, now I'm designing my life because I'm choosing how to feel. I'm choosing we're not a victim of anything. Yes, Samantha, I agree with you. Challenges are given to us along the way. And maybe that's a story we make up to feel better about the things that we created, right? Like if we create it all, we created that too. But my thing
Mhm.
is we typically create that from because of the unawareness. Or maybe we're not really, like I said, the more that people realize that they create their life, the less chaos will be needed to get them to that realization. So to me, the gratitude and present moment and understanding victim or victor in every moment, you know, that's a beautiful first step.
It's incredibly difficult to be grateful when really unfortunate things happen to you when you're going through those tough moments, when you're going through those challenges, and some of those things do feel like they're outside of your control. But if you can find a way to be grateful for where you're at, some of the things that you currently have, and then just have this deep belief that the world conspires in your favor, not the other way around. You're going to come out on the other side of that so much more powerful, just a better version, more developed version of yourself. And I think you've done that. You've done that inner work. And it's amazing to see because sharing your story and some of the things that happened to you, and even just what you just mentioned, right? Saying hello to someone that hurt you and really set you back in life. That's I'm sure very powerful message to share with our audience because I don't think a lot of people would be able to do that.
Right. Well, it has a lot to do with taking accountability. Right. So when you can take 100% accountability for everything in your life. Now, there is a distinction between accountability and responsibility. Right? I was accountable. I got in my car that day. I chose to drive it. I chose to be in that driveway. I chose to back down 1 foot. I chose to wait for his truck to pass. Right? There was all of these choices I made. So I'm accountable for that. I'm accountable for being in my car. Nobody else put me in my car but me. Correct? Now that doesn't make me responsible for him choosing to be on his phone, right? And to not see me. Now that's a whole different thing. So I'm not accountable for that. I mean, I'm not responsible for that, but I am accountable. And again, accountability, it comes back to the empowering of yourself, right? So that, yes. And so I think like when we can do these steps, and they do take a lot, it does sound crazy sometimes to some people, right? Some people can't even comprehend that. And why it would be like, the hell is that my fault? They still hear accountability as fault. And it's really, it's learning distinctions between different things in life, right? That empower us.
Right. Yeah. And so, what do you think keeps people stuck in survival mode, letting go of that grief and then stepping into their true potential?
Well, I know with certainty that for me, you could not have changed my mind or told me any differently a second before I heard it. Right. So I do believe that we're all here to learn lessons. And as we mentioned, we get to go through certain challenges to become who we get to become, to share those gifts with the world. So perhaps we accept everybody for where they are and who they are, and that nobody's broken. They don't need to be fixed. We get to be guided. And I trust that when it's the person's time for them to understand that the world is neutral, right? This is the best way for me to put it, that everything in the world is neutral. And depending on, again, going back to how we were raised and who told us and what our beliefs were and what our thoughts were, is what we make up about a situation, right? How do we bring that awareness to a person? They have to seek it first. They have to want it first. I've tried to open eyes to people who weren't ready to open their eyes. Let me, I got so much resistance. I had to learn. And I was doing it from the goodness of my heart. Like I wanted them to know what I knew. I wanted them to see what I saw. I wanted to empower, but then I realized it's like has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me, right? And everything came from the inside out. And that if I would just keep going and releasing what was no longer serving me, and that included people, that included loving family from afar. It was big decisions and there are big choices that a lot of people don't want to do. But honestly, I think they seek it first. And then once they're seeking it, it will find them and they will find it. I don't think it's anything that needs to be forced.
Yeah, I agree with that too. You're a great story of this where you went back to all of the challenges that you went through and you gave it a different meaning. You gave it a different feeling. And I've had to do that with so many situations in my life. And now I see that everything happened for my good. And it was only refining us into the person that we're truly meant to be. Because if you didn't go through all of that, you wouldn't be such a powerful woman and making such a great impact in this world. I truly believe everything happens for a reason and you cause and you create your environment. So you created a 5D framework and
Mm.
we want to know what the 5Ds are and then how do they help people transform their lives and businesses?
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much. Because over and over and over, what I realized, I was like, there's 5 steps that we just keep doing over and over, and they prove right. And first of all, is having your desire. What is your true desire? And a lot of times that is one of the most difficult things to even get to because, again, who are you before the world told you who you should be? So a lot of times we're living these desires to either please other people or because it's what we hear, we see, and we consume, and we think that is what we want. Right. So that very first desire part really takes the undoing of the mind to get down to who am I? And once you know who you are, you have that pure connection with source. And for me, it's understanding God is within me and we create it all together. And once you know what that desire is, it's really about making a declaration. Our words are so right. You live and die by the tongue. Your word is your wand. These things have been around for centuries. This isn't anything that's new. And I love that more and more because of social media and what we have available to us, more of this information is getting out there. And so, really, it's declaring. So, with everything we say, again, empowering yourself or disempowering yourself. You're never just saying anything. So you make that strong declaration. And then you get to make a decision, to decide. And to decide is to cut off any other possibility. And that can be really scary sometimes for people, but it's also, again, very empowering. It's like that word side is boom, it's gone. So you make a choice is between two things. To decision, there's nothing left to choose from. This is the way it's going to be because I said so, because I desire it, and then you design it. So there's your action part, right? I think when The Secret first came out, people were sitting on their couch eating bonbons, like waiting for their man or their car or their house to pop
Oh,
up in their living room. And it was like, no, you still have to do the work, right? Everybody's doing the vision boards without the work. So you do that design, and then you're literally there at your destination. And once you're at that destination, like never forget to celebrate because usually by the time you got there, you already have something else that you desire in the works. right? Like those desires, there's never an end. Some people are waiting till the right time, the right money, till the end, till I finish this or that, to be happy, to feel fulfilled. And it's like, there is no end, right? There's never an end. Even when we leave these bodies, we're still going, right? We don't just disappear into nothing. So
I have
that's that. There's a whole lot of steps to it, right? To have all those things happen. But yeah.
Mhm. I absolutely love that. Can you give us an example how this framework helped either you or someone in your life, and how that was applied?
Yes, and we do it with all of our students. So I teach a course called the Clarity Catalyst from Stanford University. It's been around probably like 60 years now, and it blends Eastern and Western philosophy. It gives over 65 different tools and techniques that support pure, right, with emotional intelligence to get through this. But I mean, if we just even look at the fact that I healed from a stroke, that I walk after being declared and being handed disability papers, right? What was my desire? What did I constantly say? I decided there was no other possibility, right? And I took the action. And I kept, going to physical therapy and everything else when I was told it was useless and all this stuff, and spent every dime, girls, like every dime. I gave my house and everything away so that I could afford myself to get the treatment I needed because I knew with certainty where I was going. Does that make sense? So it's in that. We created the Visionary Edge Conference, right? Which Samantha got to be part of. Like that was literally a vision. It was a desire that I had. And when it was time, I just declared it. I said, it's time. I was like, God said it's time and it's time. And we went into action. And in 10 weeks, we brought together 3 countries, 300 people, 45 speakers, like the most brilliant transformational conferences that people are still speaking about. It's like once you get there, once you get clear, but you get to do some work before that, right? It's about clearing the mind. It's like you think of your mind as a garden, and if it's full of weeds, which are your old thoughts and your worries and your woulda, coulda, should haves, right? Or just not feeling good enough. You got to get all of that out of the way. So there's work to do. And then once you have this beautiful garden and all the weeds are gone, what grows? New ideas, solutions, possibilities, thoughts, empowerment, like all of this wonderful stuff. So, I mean, it's with anything. You girls wanted to have this podcast, or you're not in the top 1%, right? Of Apple Podcast. Think about it. You had a desire, right? You talked about it. You made the declaration. Yes. You
Yep.
decided you were going to do it. There was no
Mhm.
other possibility. You took action. You're using Riverside. You do this, you do that. You know what you're doing. And then boom, here you are. Right. So it don't like, we don't want to overthink that process, because I think sometimes that's what keeps people back is they overthink it.
Mhm.
So just declare what it is you want to do. And what else have you accomplished in your life? Think about those accomplishments, unwind them and go, huh, how did I do that? Right. And now it could have been easier, it could have been hard. That's a choice. And the more
Mhm.
we know, the easier it gets. And that's what we call flow, right? That's is when what you're looking for is looking for you. You don't have to effort. You don't have to talk to a million people. You don't have to go 80 hours a week. Sometimes you do in the beginning of a business, right? But not forever. And it's just flow. And now all of a sudden, the call, how do you think we did that conference in 10 weeks? What? They came to me, everything, everybody, this little angel right here, right? Samantha, like a piece of it. God will just send you all the people to support that vision, because when it comes from God, when you're connected to source, that's when it gets easy, right? It's more of a spiritual journey. When you're connected to God and God says, do it, He's going to give you everything to make that successful, right? So,
It's so important letting go of the how. And I remember having so many conversations with you. You're like, Samantha, I have no idea how I got connected to this person. Then I was just flowing. That's how life is supposed to be. It's supposed to be exciting. If you're just supposed to feel such high energy and in alignment, and it's a magical place to be. But I will tell you, I know you and both Alex and I have had to go through so many struggles to appreciate actually being in that mindset of gratitude, excitement, joy, and growth. And just, it's powerful. Uh,
yes, agreed.
yeah. What advice would you give someone who is just starting out that's struggling with confidence? Because I know you've built up your confidence and it shows when you're on stage, you're just glowing with confidence and you're able to articulate very well. So, how did you get to that point?
You know what's so funny about that is sometimes I still question when I, well, it depends on what stage I'm on. So when I'm on stage and a lot of it's just coming through, it's all done. And I'm like, was that clear? Like I'm the clarity catalyst over here asking, was that clear? So even thank you for the compliments. And I just want to share with people, we get confident, by taking action. If you're waiting to take action until you feel confident, you will never feel confident. It will never happen. You will be so upset with yourself and completely beating yourself up, and you'll get into that spiral because you're not doing what you know you should be doing. So to get confidence is literally just take action. If you look back to like the first time I did a live on Facebook, oh my God, it took like, I don't know, 40 minutes to like say, okay, hit the camera. My friends wanted to kill me. They're just like, oh my God, will you just go already? Right. And it was so funny. And they were waiting for me to make sangria. That was going to be the live. And they didn't get the drink until I made it. This was several years ago. So it was hysterical. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And nobody sees that behind the scenes though. Like no one knows I had social anxiety, horrible in childhood, definitely as an adult, right? Like people don't know I didn't have social media. No,
So
until I was 42. I didn't even want social media. Who cares what you had for breakfast? That was my attitude. Right. And then I had social media and then I became a network marketer. Go figure. Now they want me to post things and talk to people that I don't know. I'm not talking to strangers. Right. So to build your confidence, you just got to go for it. I think I know this is what happens. Anytime that we're doing something in life, it creates a zone of comfort, right? And so we're here in this comfort zone and we think it's comfortable and we get payoffs for staying in our comfort zone, right? We get to be comfortable. We don't have to do anything that doesn't make us feel good. We get to be right about whatever we want to say. Like, oh no, I'm right. I'm right about it. And this is a much deeper training only when but we're missing out on things, right? So if we stay in the comfort zone, we're missing out on the things that if we go do that, like look at that life, like I want that in my life, but ooh, it's scary. So only when the pain of not having those things becomes greater than the comfort that we're getting of sitting in this zone, only then do we go, you know what? I'm going to get off of this and I'm going to go here and I'm going to see it differently and I'm going to take that risk. I'm going to take that chance. Right. And I'm going to build, right. And now, oh my gosh, all of a sudden we start to design our life like one choice at a time. But there's a whole training we do in that in the transformational world so we can actually see it because the mind is actually programmed for safety. It's just there's no more saber-toothed tigers though. Like we're okay. You know what I mean? Like and our brain just is really trying to protect us. So we refer to that. You guys hear that little voice in your head sometimes? You know, that little voice you listen to? Yeah, we call that the itty bitty shitty committee because it's a whole committee of voices, right? Not good enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, not skinny enough, all those things that hold us back. And so we teach people how to identify with those voices, where they originally came from. We treat them like children because we love them because they're not going anywhere, by the way. It's called the subconscious mind, right? And so we just give it what it needs to nurture it, but we don't let it drive the car. Right? We don't let it drive the car. We got to get into that higher self because if we let procrastination drive our vehicle, we're never getting out of the parking space. Never. And let confusion take the car. Where are you guys going? In circles, right? Give anxiety the wheel, you're smack right into the tree. It's learning to get beyond that whole internal thing that's going on inside of us in order to take that next step and have the confidence. And that's where confidence comes from. Just action. Keep them moving forward.
it was actually a huge topic for us during our last podcast episode. And we talked about do it now. If you don't feel ready, do it scared, do it
Mhm.
anyway, because you never know the life that you dream of could be on the other side of that comfort zone. And then also, I guess we really want to know about South Florida Chicks and Coffee community.
Love that. Thank you for asking about that. I wasn't even thinking that we were going to talk about that. So, Chicks and Coffee was formed at the end of 2023. So, 23, I call my year of discernment. It was the year I was healing from the posterior stroke. I also had a relationship in my life that was not serving me well at all. And so, it was getting out of that, but we're going to just leave that there. It was getting out of that. And what I realized is that there was a lot of darkness around me. And that light could not survive or dark cannot survive in the light. So where was my best light? My best light was when I was around other people. And I was literally God's like, go form community, get community here at home. Cause a lot of the stuff I did was virtual with network marketing. So a lot of my community was everywhere else. And I grabbed a girlfriend who she's lived here forever. Her name is Ashley. She's a Lady Ashley party planning. She's amazing. She knows so many people. And I shared my vision with her. And she's like, all right, girl, I'll help you. And she grabbed three friends, and it was me, Ashley, and her three friends. And we had our first Chicks and Coffee event. And it's basically meeting up monthly just for women to have a place to come and connect with other women. right? To build friendship and connection. And now we have events. It'll be 2 years in October. We have not missed 1 month. So we do get to talk that in success, consistency, right? Create success. And we have upwards of 50 people sometimes. And it's absolutely beautiful. And people love it because there's no real set agenda. They can just come and be themselves and enjoy themselves. And of course, connections grow beyond that then and outside of chicks and coffee. Sometimes it's chicks and cocktails, every now and then.
Either one is great, right?
Yeah, every now and then.
What have you learned about the power of community and connection in personal growth?
Well, if you want to collapse time, other than doing the internal work, you lock arms with people who are on your frequency and your vibration, right? That people who are also doing the same things. And there's a beautiful thing, and in business, they talk about it a lot. And I don't want it to be taken wrong, but it's called like branding up, right? So, and just when you are looking to expand yourself, find someone who has expanded themselves a bit more than you have and has those things that you want to embody, whether it's their values, whether it's the level of success in their business, whether it's the type of relationships that they have, and really just lock arms. And because that support, without community, I would be nowhere. In that network marketing community, I'm still dear friends with people who are in there, and I love them. They changed my life. They showed me unconditional love. They poured belief in me before I had it in myself. Remember, I couldn't even do the live, right? Like I could barely, I didn't even know how to use Facebook. What was a story? I didn't know, but they just kept pouring belief in me. And I was a hot mess, by the way. We laugh, we look back. I'm like, I was a hot mess back then, and I really was. But that's what community does. So at first, it will pour into you and lift you to a certain degree. And then you end up becoming that person. I thought those girls they were so kind to me and they were so nice. I was like, what do they want from me? Like, I realized I didn't have this level of trust even in them at that time. And I think, wow. And sometimes I think women, especially, and look at other women, and I think we forget sometimes that not everybody has been raised in a space where it is safe or where other women have empowered them. And so you're kind of coming out of that, And so just to be gentle where people are, and that community will lift people and it will lift you. So that's to me why it is so important. I mean, otherwise you're just on an island by yourself.
Yeah, no one wants that.
No
No.
one wants that. Yeah, it's so important to have community and loved ones and just not be lonely. That's our basic human need is to seek connection. So I couldn't agree more, Janelle.
Yeah.
So if someone is listening today and is feeling stuck, what is one small but powerful action that they can take today to do their 180?
Well, I would say if they're feeling stuck is to get quiet. Mindfulness practice is the number one thing. Mindfulness and meditation. And meditation can feel daunting when we say that. Why do I share that? Because for me, it did, right? Like it took me like 2 years before this girl would sit down for 6 seconds and close her eyes and quiet her mind. So one thing that people can do is to journal. I think journaling is simple, more so than meditation, maybe if you're brand new at doing mindfulness work. And even if you feel stuck, because trust, I've opened the journal and I've held the pen and I'm like, silence, right? Even in the writing. But there are journal prompts. So if you go on and just Google or go to Chat GPT and say, please give me 3 journal prompts to help me feel unstuck, they'll give you the prompts and just go with it. Right. I think being able to quiet ourselves, that is that inner critic sometimes is so loud that we think we're doing everything wrong. You can't journal wrong, by the way, right? You can't meditate wrong. You can't do any of these things wrong. But in the beginning, like if I could say, raise your hands, who thought they were doing it wrong? Like half the room goes up. But journaling, I would say just getting your thoughts out of your mind and onto paper because it helps quiet your mind down. How can you think when your mind is like this? Right? You can't. You feel stuck because you can't get through the mess that's in the head. Or index cards are beautiful. And if you're somebody who's just super busy, like say you're a mom and you're working and your wife and all these things, and it's like if you just take a stack of index cards and everything that you need to get done, I don't care if it's buy your dog food, write everything that is in your mind on individual index cards. And then when you take this stack of index cards, you look at them and you're like, what needs to get done immediately? Like within the next 6 days, what has to be done? That's pile one. And then what can get done in the next like 1 to 2 months? That's pile two. And then anything that can be done after the 2 months from now, that's pile three. right? So just look, and once you sort through them, it takes a little time to do this depending on how much is in your head. And once you get it done, I want you to take pile 3 and I want you to just discard it. It was like, wait, you want me to throw my thoughts in the trash? Yes, it's okay. Like if it's like I want to write a book and you put it in pile 3 because a book does not need to be written in 2 months, do you think you're going to forget that you want to write a book? No, but you're getting it out of here, and then you're getting it out of the space so you can clear up space so that you don't have to feel so stuck. Right. So there are things that I would start with.
I love that idea of writing on index cards, and I really do think it's imperative to know your priorities and what things you should be doing first. So,
Hmm.
great advice. And we really both want to know what light up your life means to you.
Oh, wow. Okay. To me, it's being connected to source. It's just being God filled and God led. People are like, how did you do it? Like the truth is it's God led. When I started back in 2024, after that 2023. I literally have just listened to where God has told me to go and what I'm supposed to do. And it's so crystal clear. And then people are like, well, what's he sound like? I'm like, I don't know how to explain that because it is a feeling, it is an emotion, it is a connection, right? So when you are lit up and you're lighting up your life, it's because God is leading the way. And like I said, you can't do anything wrong. I literally took my flip chart and went back into coffee shops, a flip chart in a coffee shop to get things going because we get to have that momentum, and girls a year later to international creating the international stages, right? So from shop to that, like, hi, in a year. Now obviously there was 10 years of work behind it, but the truth is that's where I was restarting from. I was just restarting with more tools and more belief and God on my side at this time, you know?
That's
Oh, that's
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to wrap this up, we're going to do a quick this or that challenge. So, no overthinking. The first
My
thing comes to your mind. Are you ready?
okay.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Knew that one. Early mornings or late nights?
Late nights.
Books or podcasts?
Books.
Leading a team or flying solo?
Leading a team.
I think I know this one. Networking events or cozy coffee chats?
Networking events. The Virgo in me just wants a coffee cozy chat. Like it's a toss up. That's a true toss up. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a hard one. Okay, so success defined by impact or success defined by freedom?
Impact.
I knew it. I told her that you that.
All right. Final one. Journaling or meditation? That was tough.
Oh,
We just talked.
journaling.
That's
All right.
so funny. Very fitting for our conversation. Well, Janelle, this
Yeah.
has been such a powerful conversation. For anyone in our audience listening to this that wants to learn more about you and connect with you, where can they find you?
I think the easiest place to find me is on Instagram. And it's my name. It's Jenell and then underscore Lynn. Lyn underscore Kelly, Kelly. That's the easiest place. And if you want to stay in touch with us, though, or learn more about the Visionary Edge, because we do have that coming up in 2026, fingers crossed, that is where I see it to be. You can text the word edge, edge, to 26786. And that will just take you to the landing page and you can just, pop in there and get more information.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here again. And we're sending our listeners so much love and light.